or wherever you're receiving it, I hope it catches you. I hope you're receiving it in good health. My name is Meka Al Ban Yaosher Al, and welcome to another episode of Truth Matters Broadcasting, where we discern for ourselves the truth about religion, the kingdom of the one and only creator of heaven and earth, and the church. This is very, very important. This is very, very important conversation to have. A discerning spirit, a discerning rook in our language, the Hebrew language, the original Gabare of the Hebrew language. The word is not called spirit. It's not translated spirit. And today, when you think of spirit, you're thinking of, you could think of good spirits, evil spirits. We're talking about the rock, the driving force of the creator poured upon us. And so today, my message today for you, I would more like to say a conversation, because I'm believing that you're sick and tired of messages. You're sick and tired of people preaching to you. So I want to really put it out there that my message for you or to you is based upon the ability for you to receive information. Information. That's really it. Because I cannot make you do anything. I cannot force you to do anything. All I can do is give you the information, and if the creator of the heavens and the earth chooses to open up your mind to receive it, then so be it. I believe you're here because he chooses to open up your mind to receive it. But as we know that many are called, but only a few are chosen. And I believe people are chosen based upon the decisions they make. Because you can hear something like a beautiful music, or you can watch something like a beautiful movie, but you can go away having that feeling of entertainment for just a brief moment. Whereas if you've made a decision to ask some questions, and mainly ask these questions to yourselves, then just maybe he will pour more into you. The great teacher, Yahushai, the one Messiah, says, he who has will be given more, and he who has little or none, even the little that he has, will be taken away. I don't know about you, but I want more. I want more. Because if you have and you're storing it up and you're using it for support for life, and you're not seeking to more, you're not seeking to do more, to grow, to get better. I liken that as a rat in a jar on a big hunk of cheese. A rat in a jar on a big hunk of cheese. I want you to visualize this for a moment. Visualize a rat in a jar with some cheese in there. And the cheese is filled up to the brim, all the way up to the brim. So the rat is on the cheese, eating the cheese. And of course, for a while, the rat will enjoy the privilege and the lifestyle and whatever that safety of the jar in the cheese will offer that rat. But unbeknownst to the rat, when he eats the cheese, and he kept on eating the cheese is going down and down and further down into the jar. Pretty soon, the jar will become his trap. You see? Because he's going to eat his way to the bottom and he's not going to be able to get out of the jar. I believe that religion, I believe that the governments of this world, I believe that the religion of this world, I believe that the nations of this world has trapped us into a jar. And all the information we receive is given by them, those who are in control over us, those who are lording over us. The master teacher told us, Yahushua told us, whoever wants to be great among you must be your servant. So if they're not serving you, they're exploiting you. And I believe the governments of this world, the nations of this world, the religions of this world is exploiting you. Let me say this to those who are listening to me today. There is no government on this planet, no government on this planet. There is no nation on this planet. And there is no religion on this planet that worship the Creator. Now, I don't know if you ever heard me say this before. I don't know if you ever heard this saying before or this statement made by anyone before. Maybe I'm the only one that has ever made this statement. So I'm going to say it again, just in case you did not hear me or you didn't heard what I said. There is no government on this earth, no nations on this earth, and no religion on this earth that worships the Creator God. Now, that's a bold statement to make when there are governments on this world, nations on this world, and religion galore. Pick from the litter. You have Judaism, Islam, Christianity, to name a few of those religions that incorporate a great majority of believers on this planet. And you could say Judaism and Christianity, well, Christianity was born out of Judaism. And if everyone is seeking the Abrahamic faith, then you can say Judaism, Islamism, and Christianity was born out of the Abrahamic so-called faith. And these are the major religion that is giving you the cheese. And you are the rat eating the cheese. But have you ever stopped to ask the question, what am I doing? What do I want? And why? The information I would like to give you today, the message I would like to give you today is to stop. S-T-O-P. Just stop. If you can bring yourself to just stopping, just stop. Just stop. And ask yourself some questions. 3 in particular. What am I doing? Now, I take the time to look up the words because I always like to look up the definition of the words so I can get the understanding of what it means. I like to look up the definition of the word because, sometimes when you look up sometimes you can use a word and you've been using it your whole life, but you don't understand the real definition of that word, like the word respect or the word blessed. Look up these 2 words, respect and blessed, and you will realize very quickly that they are not what you thought they were. They're not what you thought they meant. You're using these words incorrectly. because of your understanding based upon your culture or based upon how the word has been used to you over the years. And this is why it's so important, because we never really took the time to just stop and ask ourselves, why am I doing this? Why do we do things this way? Where did it come from? What is the origin behind the things that I do? One such thing I ask myself, ladies and gentlemen, why do I eat with knife and fork? I remember my growing up in Jamaica. My parents have this thing about speaking proper. Speaking proper. See, in my native tongue in Jamaica, we spoke patois. But when you look at the history behind why we spoke patois, patois is broken English. That's all it is. It's broken English, or what we native would call dirty English. And so our parents would want us to speak proper English, proper. Because when you speak broken English, you are classed as, all right, let's put it this way, you're put in a different class. Why them people that speak bad boy, by speaking the Queen's English, you are proper. You're supposed to dress a certain way, behave a certain way. If you have beard, it should look neat and nice. Forget the dreadlocks. But when you look into the history of these things, you realize, what is the dreadlocks? What is the dreadlocks? You got to go deep into the history to understand how Jamaicans come up with the dreadlocks. Where does it come from? It comes from the word. It's a Nazarite thing. It's a vow of real purity towards service to the Creator. And so when the man lock up him here, he was in rebellion against nation. He was in rebellion against the status quo. At one point in Jamaica, the government ordered all dreadlocks people, anyone with dreadlocks, to be shot on sight. Did you know that? That's a history in our country. I didn't know that. I didn't know that till I came to America, studying my own culture. And then one like Bob Marley, who took dreadlocks to a different level through his music. If you look at Bob Marley's music was a music of uprising. It was a music of rebellion against the system that oppress a particular people. And Bob Marley's music are loved by white people like you don't know it. To the point where Bob Marley was so upset that everywhere he goes, his concert is filled with white people, or people that doesn't look like him. He was upset. And that's one of the reasons why Bob Marley wanted to go to Africa, and he sing songs about Africa. We are going to be in Zimbabwe, because he wanted to unite his people. Africans unite. Africans unite now. Cause we moving right out of Babylon. It was a music, it was a message to his people to come together and be one. Though Bob Marley, Robert Nesta Marley, had the rebellious spirit, the spirit of unity, he didn't understand the true message. He didn't understand the Gabari, the true word of Yahweh. Because if he understood the true word of Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, he would know that we're not called to be united as black people. Okay, that's one of the biggest misconceptions of understanding blackness. Not all black people are going to unite. We see this throughout our history. There's a particular people, a peculiar people, sorry, that is to be united. And that's the original Hebrew. The original Hebrew. And the original Hebrew are those who can trace their lineage through the Atlantic slave trade. I learned this by praying to the Creator, seeking his understanding, who sent me to a ravenous bird. Someone asked me on Facebook, sidebar, always sidebar. Whenever they want information or fuel for the fire, they never come publicly. They always find a way to sidebar something or put it in a chat somewhere. They never come to you and say, hey, what is up? And when they get the information, they never go back. They never go back and publicly say, hey, man, I talked to him sidebar. I see where he's coming from. Here is his understanding. Because guess what? If they allow themselves to do that, then they would be joining the ranks, or people would look at them differently. So they keep the sidebar information to themselves. We must understand, ladies and gentlemen, that if you're going to answer the what, the wants, and the why for yourself, then you're going to have to first stop. I've started asking questions. And I've started asking the Creator, because we all have access to him. No matter what nations you're from, no matter what country you're from, we all have access to him. And we can ask him. And when you ask him, I'm telling you, if you're sincere in your heart and you truly want to know if he is real and he truly wants you to know, then he's going to send his information to you via music, via something you watch. Wherever your attention lies, he will send it right there. Or he will speak to your audibly, or he will speak to your mind. You're going to have this feeling, this impression to go search this, go look here, go do that. And as you search, you're going to find that there's more information you did not receive. And so I started there. I started to ask, why do we do the things we do? Because, ladies and gentlemen, you have no control over where you were born. When you came into this world, you had no control over the portal you came through, which woman would birth you, which father would sperm you. You had no control over that. So if you came into the world through a Muslim portal or a religious portal, or you came into the world through an atheist portal, or you came into the world as a Christian portal or a rich portal, you might born into a rich family, you have no saying in that. So if you're a Muslim or you're a Christian or a so-called Jew, you had no control over that. So I'm not here to look down on you because you're a Jew. I'm not here to look down on you because you're a Christian. I'm not here to look down on you because you're a Muslim. I'm here to tell you that there is one creator in the heavens and the earth. And he made a promise through one man. One man. Of all the earth is his. His covenant is through one man. And his descendant forever. And you have to look at this practicality. You have to look at it. And so you have to look at the series of events that happened through this one man, Abraham. So you might be locked into a religion. You might be locked into a sphere. And you might just be the rat on the cheese. At some point, you have to jump off of that cheese and go, all right, let me get empty again. And one of the biggest problems with people today, they're unwilling to get empty because they think they know everything. They already have the answer. They're locked into a system. And that's why I make the proclamation, or I make the statement, or whatever you want to call it. There's no government on earth, no nation on earth, no religion on earth that worship the Creator. At one point there was. The children of Yahushua. But through the Atlantic slave trade, they were scattered and dismantled with an outstretched arm by the Creator himself, because they broke his laws, statutes, decrees, and commands. So we're not a nation. We're not even a people. We've gone astray. And he has scattered us himself. So, once again, I say it. There's no nation on earth. No nation on earth. There is no government on earth. And certainly no religion on earth that worship the Creator. What is worship, ladies and gentlemen? If I'm going to make a bold statement like that, what is worship? When I was religious, when I was a Christian, I believe that worship was singing some songs, going to church, gathering, having that moment on Sunday where we come together collectively as a congregation to worship the Creator. Worship was a little bit of obedience as you learn it through your religion, through my religion at the time. And the religion was only focused on the certain laws. Certain laws was the religion focused on, like thou shalt not kill. It's one of the top 10. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Tell lies. The religion based itself on these 4 or 3 or 4 of the 10 commandments. The others were totally rejected. Because grace come in, you see. And if grace come in, then the thought and the attitude behind obedience was that you can be forgiven like that. The thought behind this grace understanding was you can't keep the law of Yahweh. You cannot keep the law of God. No man on earth can keep the law. Therefore, God has given us grace because we can't keep the law. So we walked around in our shallow grave thinking we are saved by another man's obedience. We're saved by the Messiah's obedience. The Messiah's obedience is what saved us. Now, in order for you to accept that message, you have to reject Torah. You have to reject the Torah. You have to reject the Tayora, which is the testimonies. You have to reject the laws. You have to reject them. And that's why in the Christian faith, they use the Old Testament as old, done away with version, but just something you can occasionally touch on. And if I was to say, raise your hand if you're a New Testament Christian, 9 out of 10 of you would raise your hands. Or maybe all 10 of you would raise your hands. You're New Testament Christians. And what you don't understand, in the time of the New Testament, when so-called Jesus walked the earth, there was no New Testament. The Messiah never taught the New Testament. The real Messiah never taught the New Testament. There was no New Testament at all. So what did the Messiah, the one who is the inspiration from the Father, sent to us to restore back to us? What? The word of Yahweh. in the law and the prophets. He himself said, think not that I have come to abolish it, but I've come to fulfill it. He himself says, anyone who teaches it should be called great. Anyone who does it should be called great. But anyone that doesn't do it or teach it should be called least. It was prophesied that he would come and magnify the law. He didn't come to diminish it. He comes to magnify it. That's why he said, man, if you have heard that it was said of them of old times. Who said this? Thou shalt not commit adultery. Who said that? And if you notice how he put it in a way where he said, you have heard it was said of them of old time, because they have a whole doctrine built around adultery, what it really means. They decipher and have their own writings on what they think it means. And he comes to set the record straight. He said, listen, if you even look at a woman with lust in your heart, you've already committed the act of adultery. Magnified. He made it bigger. He made a statement bigger. When in his dealing with Satan, the devil, he quote 3 times from those temptations. He quote 3 times from the Torah. What did he quote from? The law. If you look at the temptation of the devil in the wilderness, Yahweh give him ability to understand Torah. And he used Torah to fight temptation. You know, I want to publicly say too about my brother, the Rock Yahweh. Shar, the Rock Yahweh. I have a special love for you, man. Because your love for the law. The way David said, I am greater than my teacher because I love your law. I study your law. I hold on to your law. The whole 119 Psalms, the biggest book in the Bible, the biggest book in the center of the Bible, is the most rejected book of all the books of the Bible. A whole 119 Psalms, the biggest book in the Bible. And it's all geared upon the law of Yahweh. If you look at our history, you'll realize, and you'll realize very well, every time we go into slavery, every time we go into destruction is because we have turned away from the laws of Masha. We have turned away from the Toyota. We have turned away from the Torah. We have turned away from the precepts of Yahweh. Every time. Look at our history. So as a nation, he scattered us all over the world. Here are some proof. Deuteronomy 28:64. Moreover, Yahweh will scatter you among all the nations, among all the people, from one end of the earth to another end of the earth. And there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone, which you nor are your fathers have not known. The 2 biggest or greatest religion on the planet is the gods, worship the gods of wood and stone. And that's Christianity at the cross. If you read the so-called New Testament, you would see that he did not die on some cross. The scripture made it abundantly clear he hanged from a tree. But because the cross is made of wood, they use that and correlate and say it was a cross, it's a tree. No, he hanged from a tree, ladies and gentlemen. Like the fate of the black man in this world. Curse is everyone that hang on a tree. We are under a curse. And still are under the curse. He didn't lift that curse at the so-called cross. Because at the cross, when he died, if he lift the curse, then we would still be a nation today. But Deuteronomy 28:15-68 shows that the curse was not lifted. Because if the curse was lifted, there's no way we would have been sold into slavery. There's no way that Deuteronomy 28 would have come to pass. Leviticus, also Thorah. You, however, I will scatter among the nations and will draw out a sword after you, as your land become desolate and your cities become waste. Why is this? Why is this? Because of our disobedience. Deuteronomy again, Thorah again, 4 verse 27. Yah-oh, who? You think any white man can have the power to scatter us? You think any nation on earth, any people on earth, regardless of their power or wealth, can overthrow the Creator? You think they have more power than the Creator? You think they can go yes when the Creator say no, or no when the Creator say yes? You think they could fall rain if the Creator stops it? One of the biggest misconceptions we have today, we have this right or wrong devil against God, God against Satan, as if there's a battle line drawn and God is on one side, Yahweh is on one side, the devil is on one side, and they're going to war. We have that mindset because your religion has taught you that. And therefore you believe that Satan, powerful Satan is on that side, powerful creators on this side, and they're going to war over who is going to run the world. Thanks to a ravenous bird, my eyes are open to see. It is the Creator that runs the world. Everything that happens in the world is happening according to his will. And I know that may scare some of you, and I know that may make you think, how could a righteous God cause so much pain and suffering? How can a righteous God cause so much death? Because if you made a statement that everything that happened in the world happens right now because of the Creator, then you're saying all the sufferings and all of this and all of that is because of him. I'm telling you, you're right, 100%. But the question is, why? See, that's the question. Why? Until you know you're wise, ladies and gentlemen, you won't have the answers. Why is it happening? People are not asking themselves the question. They're pushing the blame, but they're not asking the question. Who created the heavens and the earth? The Creator, Yahweh. Who sets the sun in the sky and the moon at night? Who gave rain? Who gave the atmosphere, the earth, the seas? Who gave us food to eat every day? You think it's man that produced food? You think man can create food? Man can only take and manipulate food, but they can't create it. All that is created by the Father. You think man can create water? Water comes, it goes into your system, you pee it out, it evaporates, it goes up to the sky, it purifies, it comes down, it runs through the earth. It is the Creator's word why all this stand. He is the Lord of heaven and earth. I don't like to use the word Lord because it's a pagan name. He is the Elohim of the heavens and the earth. He is the ruler of all things. He sits high and lofty on the throne. And don't question his ways, because his ways are greater than your ways. Don't perceive to think that you know him. His ways are greater than yours. His thoughts are higher than yours. You understand me? So we come to him based upon that which is revealed to us in how we need to approach him. And that is through obedience to his laws. True worship, ladies and gentlemen, is obedience. That is what worship is all about. And how do I know this? Because when he brought the children of Yahushua to the wilderness at Mount Sinai, what was worship? His laws. He thundered them from Mount Sinai. And he spoke them with his mouth and wrote them with his fingers. These are his laws. Obey them and live. Disobey them and die. It's just that simple. When he told us in the garden, our forefathers in the garden, of all the trees of the garden thou shalt freely eat, but this one in the middle of the garden you shall not eat of it. For the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. The question is that most people don't have in their minds, or most people don't ask, who put the damn tree in the garden in the first place? Did the devil sneak the tree in the garden? Did the devil create the tree and sneak it and put it in the garden? How did he have access to the garden in the first place? No one can come into your house unless they break in or they're invited in. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you're a strong man, the only way someone can come in here unless he can bind me, or he breaks in here when I'm not here. You understand what I'm saying? So the question is, who put the tree in the garden? It was the Creator who put the tree in the garden. I create good and I create evil, say the Most High. So you must understand he's in full control. His name shall be great in the land. He owns this place. The reason why we are where we are today is because man has the audacity to become their own God. They want to become their own God. And when they realize, okay, there ain't no God at all, they give you false deity to worship. False deity to make you think this is the God that is giving you all the blessings. This is the God that's granting you the freedom. So that you will take your mind off the true and living God. So we're scattered throughout the nation, ladies and gentlemen. We're scattered throughout the nations because of our disobedience. And we're scattered by Yahweh. Now let's look at the Thiota. Let's look at the Psalms. Psalms 106 verse 27. And that he would cast their seed amongst the nations and scatter them in the land. Jeremiah, Yeram Ya'o, 9 verse 16. I will scatter them amongst the nations, whom neither they nor their fathers have known. And I will send the sword after them until I have annihilated them. Now why? Why would he do this to us? But because of his word, you see, a remnant shall be spared to fulfill his word, his covenant made to his friend Abram, who obeyed his charge and precepts. What? Ezekiel 20:23. Also, I swore to them in the wilderness that I would scatter them amongst the nation and disperse them amongst the land. I will scatter you amongst the nation, and I will disperse you through the lands, and I will consume your uncleanness from you. Zechariah 10:9. When I scatter them amongst the people, they will remember me in far countries, and they with their children will live and come back. Shalom. Alalo at Ya'o. Alalo at Ka Ya'o. That's Gabari if you didn't understand what I'm saying here. Jeremiah 13:24. Therefore I will scatter them like drifting straw to the desert wind. Therefore, fathers will eat their sons among you, and sons will eat their fathers, for I will execute judgment on you and scatter all your remnant to every wind. Like an east wind, I will scatter them before the enemies. I will show them my back and not my face in that day of their calamity. The question that you have to ask, ladies and gentlemen, the question that you have to ask is why? Why? But before we get to why, let's look at what. What? 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 The definition of what? Asking for information, specifying something. The things are things that specify something. Asking for information, specifying something. To what extent? So you see, sometimes we use the word what? What? What do you want? You know, we use these words, but we don't really understand the real significance of them. Somebody calling you, say, what? You say what in anger or frustration, but you don't know that the word what is a specific, as according to the dictionary here, Oxford Dictionary, asking for information. So when you say what, you're literally asking for information. And if you notice, when somebody calls you and you say what are you waiting for? You're waiting to hear what they have to say. How strongly, ladies and gentlemen, is your what? How strongly, how powerful is your what? Do you want information or what? Now that you understand what the word what means, where is your what today? Or who's giving you your what? Where's your information coming from? And the thing that I want you to really focus on, ladies and gentlemen, is the person behind the what. Who is giving that person their information? Because you have to follow the what all the way through if you truly want to understand what is the heart and purpose of their what. Next in line is your want. What is the meaning of want? What is the definition? According to the Oxford Dictionary, have a desire to possess or do something. Which for? Ought, should, or need to do something. A lack or deficiency of something. So I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, what do you want? You know, I ask people this all the time. Family, friends. And most people today don't know what they want. They don't have a clue what they want. It's superficial. I want to be rich. I want to, have a nice house and a nice car. I want to take life easy. I want to go on vacation, all these things. All these things that feed the beast, that cause you to go out there and work so you can have these superficial wants. You want a roof over your head. You want food on the table. You want your basic needs, everyday needs. And yet, what do you really want? Do you want to be free in here? Because your whole world could be crumbling around you and you're still in here. You're free in here because you know the creator of the heavens and earth. I want to know him. And he gave me his name. Most of you don't know the creator's name because, like rat on the cheese, they gave it to you in this book and you think that's his name. You think the creator's name is Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, Yod He Vave. You think it's Jesus, Jehovah, Almighty, Lord. And you have never asked the question where these names come from. You see, when I was sitting on the cheese in the jar in my religion, I didn't understood these things because I thought this was it. I never questioned it. I never asked any questions. Why would I ask questions? This is what my ancestors were doing. My mothers, fathers. This is how they knew it. So why would I question it? But then I realized, wait a minute, my ancestors were sold into slavery. Their names was changed. The God that they worship name was changed. You see, the God that you worship have your name. You have the name of the God you worship. Let me correct my statement there. You have the name of the God you worship. You have the name of the master you serve. That's why you were called by the God or deity, by the nation which serve whatever God were called by that deity. That's why you see the Greeks, which you get your translation from, notice their deity. Notice the names of the deity of the gods of Greece. And notice the names of the people, the noblemen, the kings, the lords. Notice their names. Pythagoras. You know what I mean? Pegasus. Notice the sus on the ends of the name. In the book, you hear Jeremiah, Elijah, with the Yah sound on the end. So if you don't know the true name, you would think, okay, the true name of the creator is Yahweh, Yah, who were, Yah, Hawashai. But those are three names I throw out with Yah. So which is it? Is it Yahuwah? Is it Yahweh? Or is it Yahawashai? Because they all have the Yah sounding in their name. So which one would you pick? How would you know which God you're worshiping? Or does this God has multiple names? I can tell you he does not have multiple names. You might have three names because you come out of this Christian world, Roman, Greco world, where they give you through 2 or 3 names. My pagan name was Michael Lawrence Sewell. That's my pagan name. You hear me introduce myself now as Meka'al Ban Ya'osher. And so you're wondering, what is the difference? One was pagan, one is by my deity. So one of the first things the slave masters do, they change our names. Sewell is not my ancestor's name. Sewell is not my name at all. That is the name of my slave master. And they gave us their name because we were property to them. Do you understand me? None of this very Bible was not written for you. Because you're a slave. You weren't even supposed to read it. None of the constitutional laws were written for you. Because you're not human, you see. A people that fights for being a human. Wow. The history. So when you realize that Christianity is a Roman constitution, Now, enough people will tell you that Christianity predates Rome. I don't know which history book they're watching, reading, and which history show they're watching. Because Christianity cannot predate Rome, because Christ, the Christ, so-called Christ, came in the Roman Empire, came at the time of the Roman Empire, prophesied in Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 9. So Christianity could not predate. Christianity is not a Greek philosophy. But you must understand that Greece was conquered by Rome. And all of Greek philosophy was incorporated in the Roman Empire. You must understand the Roman Empire. You must understand how they do things. Colonization comes from the Roman Empire. They understand it very well, how to be an empire. Colonization comes from Rome. They will capture a city, capture a town, capture a nation, and they will give them the right to be a nation, be the nation that they are. They have to pay tribute to Rome and submit to Roman gods and Roman rules and Roman authority. And they will give their conquerors, they will give their conquest, or give to the people they conquer a little bit of leeway to practice their own thing. They will take their writings and learn about their writings, because to control the people, you have to control what they believe. And so what Rome did, they just incorporate their gods with the gods of the belief system of the people they conquered. And today you have Christianity, the god of wood. The Islamic nation does the same thing. You know, when they go over, if you look at the history of the Islamic nations, their goal is to make everybody Islam. If you're not Islam, you're an enemy. If you're not, say what you want about the Islamic religion. I mean, you got different people in the religion who is about peace and just want to worship Allah, and that's it. But the writings of your book demands you to conquer nations. It demands you to conquer people, subdue them to the will of Allah. You understand? So if you're looking at it, you have to look at it from the perspective of the truth, based upon your writings, not your feelings or what you think or your opinion or how you feel or the things that you decide to omit in your own life. Well, I'm a Muslim. I born a Muslim. I raised a Muslim, but I don't like this part about the book. I don't like this part of the book, so I'm not gonna. You know what? I don't like certain things in the book, so you know what? Let me just scratch that out. And you scratch out. And you scratch out, just like Christianity. I don't like this part of the book, so I scratched out. Oh, did the Creator said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy? Yes, he said it, but we don't do that anymore, so let's scratch it out. Oh, no, you can't really scratch it out because you can't add or take away from the word. So let's leave it there, but just totally ignore it. And these religions are sect of these religions have created people from the understanding of the book. I don't like this piece. I don't like that piece. Therefore, let me not believe that. Let me not accept that. Let me just go do my own thing. But I'm still going to be a Christian. I'm still going to be a Muslim. I'm just not going to practice those things. I'm telling you, you're not a Muslim. You're not a Christian unless you practice all of it. And I want to say the same thing to my brothers and sisters in Ya'oshra Al. You can't decide what you're going to practice and what you're not going to practice. You either practice it all or you don't practice it at all. You can't keep a portion of the law and says, okay, I am a Ya'oshra Al, and then reject a portion of the law. You can't do that. It's just not how it works with Ya'o. You keep it all or you don't keep it at all. You keep it all or you don't keep it at all. There are some laws that we just can't practice because we don't have a temple in our midst. I get that. Like Yahweh say all the time, you practice that which is there until Yahweh brings us to a nation and he puts his laws, until he put his sanctuary in the midst of us. And if you think I'm talking garbage here, let me show you, because it's written in his laws. It's written in his Toyota. Let's see here. Let me show you. Come on. All right, let me just go in this book here. Let me show you. If you go to Jeremiah, Yaram Ya'o, is it Jeremiah? No, Ezekiel. Ezekiel 30. Where are you? Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37, verse 26. Ezekiel 37, verse 26 says, moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in them, in the midst of them, forever. So what is he going to do? He's going to set his sanctuary in the midst of us forever. This is after he gathered us back to the wilderness where we are. I'm coming to you live from the Philippines, the birthplace of creation, the wilderness of Madbar, where Yahweh, the wilderness Madbar, where Yahweh has been gathering his children one by one to watch the fulfillment of him bringing us back to a nation under him and under his government. And this is what he says, moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forever. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yes, I will be their Elohim, God, and they shall be my people, Yahushua. And the heathens, the who? The heathens shall know that I am Yahweh, do sanctify Yahushua, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forever. So what is he doing? He's bringing us to the wilderness to plead with us face to face, to make a covenant of peace with us, to multiply us, to make us into a nation, the only single nation on earth that worship, obeys, walk in his laws, precept, covenant forever. He's making a new covenant with us, not the covenant he made with our forefathers when he led them by the hand and brought them out of Egypt. They did not obey him. He said, but this is the covenant I'm going to make with them. After those days, he said, I will put my laws in their hearts. Come on now. He's going to put his laws in our hearts. Our heart is our brain. It's not this organ, that valve. There's so much we don't know. We think the heart is the pump. We think the heart is the pump. The heart is not the pump, you know. The heart is a valve. You know what the pump is? The lungs. The lungs is the pump. But we don't know these things because science has tricked us that the heart pumps the blood. Listen to me. The heart is a valve. It's a valve that regulates the blood through the body. The lungs is where the air comes in and goes out. That is the pump. That's the pump. That's what regulates oxygen. And without oxygen, nothing moves. Nothing moves without oxygen. You understand? I'm running an air condition right now. It's conditioning the air by which I am. and it's making me cool. That's how the body works. And that's why breathing that air is so important to your life, to sustain in your life. Even when your brain go dead, no function of the brain, you can still be alive. You still be alive. Your body can still be alive because you're breathing. When they pull the plug on you because the machine that is causing you to breathe or helping you to breathe, when they pull that plug, it's over. When breath left you, it's over. And we have a very short time, ladies and gentlemen, to get this right. Because one day, breath's going to leave us. He's going to retract the breath of life. The scripture tells us, the Torah tells us, he breathed the breath of life into our nostrils. The breath of what? Life, not the heart of life. And he says the life of the flesh is in the blood. The life of the flesh is in the blood. Therefore, I give the blood as an atoning for sacrifice. Now, yeah, as atonement for your sins. Now, I'm hoping I'm quoting that right because I'm going through I'm still learning the Gabari. Because a lot of things that's written here in these translations are written incorrectly. And my why is that I want to know what he actually said. And that's why I'm thankful for the ravenous bird who can speak the language and who can read the language and who can understand the language and who is teaching us to read the language for ourselves so we can see it for ourselves, cutting out the middleman. No interpretation. Read it for yourself. Because the covenant is never again shall a man teach his brother about me. They'll all know me, from the least to the greatest. So let me take this time right now to just let you hear the voice of the ravenous bird. I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that we are privileged to have the ravenous bird among us. Us being amongst the ravenous bird. The ravenous bird would prophesy in Isaiah 46, verse 11. The man who will execute the counsels of Yahweh. He has spoken it through his own mouth, and he's doing it. And we're privileged. Today, I want you to hear just a little bit. Those who are following me on TikTok, on Instagram, you will not be able to see the footage, but you'll be able to hear it. So listen up. If you want to see the footage, follow me on Facebook at Meka'al Ban Ya'osha'al, or on YouTube at Michael Sewell. Michael Sewell SR. All right. Okay. Now, let me cue this up. And let me get it started.
So where did the Hebrew language and script come from? The conventional view is that Hebrew arose during the 11th century out of the family of Northwest Semitic languages, particularly Canaanite. This is wrong. According to Masha, our language has no precursor. It is the language God spoke when he created the world. It is the language he imparted to Adam. Hebrew also did not come from the Egyptian hieroglyphs or the so-called Proto-Sinaitic script. The 22 symbols of our script were actually the inspiration for many of the Egyptian hieroglyphs. The reason our script looks less developed than the hieroglyphs is because the Egyptians, quote, improved upon the design of our more primitive script and added hundreds more symbols of their own. This effectively made their language inaccessible to the average Egyptian. Only the priests and the most highly educated Egyptians could decipher the glyphs and read and write. We maintain that the ancient Egyptians modified the 22 symbols of our script and just changed their sound values. However, the original meanings of the symbols remained unchanged throughout history. Now let's go over the rules. According to the method described at the end of part 1, the vowel letters in Hebrew are easily and immediately recognized as vowels in the text, whenever they are not the first letters of a word. The only exception to this rule is the letter A. All Hebrew words begin with a consonant except when this letter is the first letter of the word, in which case it is either a short A vowel before a consonant or a silent, toneless vowel placeholder before a vowel. It is also a toneless suffix in masculine words. The example given in the chart is the third-person masculine singular pronoun ho, which means he in English. The letter ah is silent in this word because it is the masculine version of the third-person singular pronoun. The next letter, ha, is always a silent vowel placeholder unless it is the first letter of a word. This letter is the last letter in Masha's name, but the vowel heard at the end of Masha's name is the inherent a vowel of the letter Shah, and the ha is silent. Another example of this is when God changed Abram's name in Genesis 17:5. He changed his name, but not the way it is pronounced. The inclusion of the letter ha in his new name only changed the meaning of Abram's name. When Abram bought a field in Canaan, he was going by his new name. This field is actually mentioned in a monumental Egyptian inscription of the 10th century BCE by the pharaoh known as Shishak. It is called the Field of Abram, not Abraham. Thus, the letter ha is only an orthographic indicator within Hebrew words. The only time you ever actually hear it as an aspirated consonant is when it is the first letter of a word. The next letter wa is always, without exception, the long o vowel when it is not the first letter of a word. The example given in the chart is the third-person singular pronoun ho-ah, which means she in English. The vowel letter ah is heard at the end because the word is the feminine version of the third-person singular pronoun. Ho means he, but hoa means she. The two words are spelled exactly the same in Hebrew. It is their pronunciation that makes them different. In modern Hebrew, the words he and she are pronounced hu and he respectively, but we are purging these contracted u and e vowels from the dialect because they are not original. The fourth letter ya is always, without exception, the long a vowel when it is not the first letter of a word. The verb become is pronounced yehi in Masoretic Hebrew, but again we are deleting this e vowel from the dialect. The original pronunciation is simply ya'eh. The initial ya is heard as the consonant. The letter ha in the middle is silent, and the final letter ya or long a vowel. The fifth letter, ga, without exception, the long I vowel when it is not the first letter of a word. Otherwise, it is that difficult to pronounce guttural we've talked about. The example shown in the chart is the noun salvation. The original and correct pronunciation of this word is not Yeshua. It is Yahshoi, with pure vowel sounds. The pronunciation Yeshua has two degraded vowels, a short E and a long U. The E is a contraction of the A vowel, and the long U is a contraction of the long O vowel, and we are deleting both. Granted, we do not have audio recordings of ancient Hebrew being spoken, so how can we be sure that the vowel assignment in this chart is accurate? Insights are gained by looking at how ancient Hebrew was transcribed in Egyptian and Akkadian. The ancient nations heard our forefathers speak Hebrew, and they recorded some of the words that they heard. So the vowel assignment shown in this chart is based on this evidence. God's proper name was also recorded phonetically in Egyptian and Akkadian, and we'll be looking at these carefully as well. Once you understand how easy the system I just outlined is, you can look at this text and not be confused. Everything you need in order to read this text, which is Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 in the ancient script, is right in front of your eyes. No need for vowel points or diacritic signs of any kind. No need for a rabbi or a cantor or a chazan to teach you. Anyone can read this text flawlessly, even if they have no idea what they are saying. They only have to know the individual sounds that the letters make and the simple rules for the 5 vowel letters already discussed. For comparison, let's pull up the pointed Masoretic Hebrew version of this text and let's see how it is read in the Tiberian dialect. After this, I will read it in the ancient dialect and script so we can hear the difference between the two.
Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz.
Barasheth bar alaim ath hashamayim wa'ath haaretz.
Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz.
Barasheth bar alaim ath hashamayim wa'ath haaretz. The differences might seem small at first, but they're actually huge. If I were to keep reading Genesis and not just this one verse, it will begin to sound like I'm speaking a different language than the Tiberian Hebrew you just heard. Related but very different. This is because, as I said, Tiberian Hebrew is a Canaanite dialect, and this is one of the ways our forefathers could tell if someone was Canaanite or not. We were both people of color, so you could not tell us apart by our looks, but you could immediately tell us apart when we began to speak. In the Tiberian Hebrew, you heard the consonant wa pronounced as v, when there is no v in ancient Hebrew. You also heard the word God pronounced as Elohim. The Canaanite word for God is El. The Hebrew words for God are Al, Alo, and Allah-Aim, all of which were the precursors of the Arabic word for God, which is Allah. This particular word from Genesis 1:1 is pronounced Allah-Aim, not Elohim. There is no long O vowel in this word, and the letter ha is silent unless it is the first letter of a word. And in this verse, the word is the definite article ha, the, ha-aratz, the earth, and ha-shamim, the heaven. If you also notice, the short e vowel and the long e vowel dominates the Tiberian dialect. Bereshit, Elohim, Et, Shamayim, Eretz. This is signature Canaanite, and this vowel needs to be thoroughly purged from our dialect of Hebrew. All languages will undergo change over time unless there is a system in place that fixes the pronunciation of words for future generations. The Masoretes of Tiberias devised their vowel pointing system in the 9th century CE, and as a result, the snapshot they took of Canaanite unknowingly has not undergone any significant changes since then. But for the many centuries that Hebrew was written in the ancient script without any diacritic signs, the system we just described is really the only logical way the native sounds of the language could have been preserved in written form and passed on generation to generation. So now let's back up the vowel assignment in the previous chart. The letter Ga is both a guttural and also a vowel, but let's first look at the evidence that it's a guttural when it's the initial letter of a word. Hebrew is actually a misnomer. It is spelled in Hebrew with the letter Ga as the first letter. Tiberian Hebrew, which chooses to follow the Canaanite, treats this letter as a long E vowel in its name, turns the letter Ba into V, and makes the final letter another long E vowel. The result is Ivri, and this is clearly wrong. The word appears phonetically in Akkadian as Chapiri, and the Akkadians also use the Sumerian logogram Sag Gaz to write Chabiru. These writing systems do not have the pharyngeal-fricative consonant, so they use the guttural letter Cha as a substitute. However, the Egyptians did have this sound, so when they wrote the name, they used the forearm hieroglyph for the first consonant. You will see this normalized as Apiru in English, because English does not have this letter, or its equivalent sound. But what it sounded like when native Egyptians pronounced it was more like Gapiru. The long vowel at the end of the Akkadian and the Egyptian forms is how this word was pluralized in these languages. Thus, the name of the man who left the Tower of Babel still speaking the one language was not Eber or Heber. His actual name was Gahbar, and his descendants who continued to speak this language were called Gabarim, plural. Abram was called Gabare, singular, in Genesis 14 and 13. The next piece of evidence is how the Assyrians transcribed the name of the Hebrew king commonly known as Omri. Here they consistently wrote Chumrae in Akkadian. This tells us the initial Ga in this name was the guttural consonant, and not the vowel marker. The letter Ya in the final position marks the long A vowel. Akkadian uses A for this sound. It is not an E vowel as in the version Omri. The correct way to say the king's name is Gomre. When the Assyrians heard the name of the Hebrew king known as Hoshea, they wrote Ausai in Akkadian. This tells us the initial Ha in this name was almost silent because of the stress on the long O vowel in the opening syllable. A long I vowel was heard at the end of the name. Akkadian script uses the diphthong AU contracted to long O and II for these two sounds. The king's name is pronounced Hoshai, not Hoshea or Hawashai. Hoshai. This evidence proves the letter Wa is a long O vowel when it's not the first letter of a Hebrew word. It also proves the letter Ga is a long I vowel when it is not the first letter of a Hebrew word. Finally, let's look at the name of King David, since there are some claiming incorrectly that there are no vowels written in the ancient Hebrew. The king's name is spelled in the Bible 788 times with the letters Da, Wa, Da, and 288 times with the letters Da, Wa, Ya, Da. It is not logical to assume the letter Ya in the full form of the king's name is a consonant, because this would mean there were two drastically different ways to say the king's name, so it must be a vowel letter. The king's name is not David as it appears in the Greek New Testament. It is not David. It is not Dawid. His name is pronounced Doed, or Dode for short. The king's name is derived from the Hebrew word Dode, which means beloved. More correct versions of the full form in Greek are Dawid and Dawed, both of which preserve the vowel cluster between the first and last consonants in the king's name. Barasheth bar al-la'im ath ha-shemaim wa ath ha'aratz. Wa ha'aratz he tha, tha'o wa ba'o, wa chashach gal panei tha'om. Wa roch al-la'im marachapath gal panei hamem. Wa yamar al-la'im ya'e or, wa ya'e or. Wa yar al-la'im ath ha'or chetob. Wa yabdal al-la'im bein ha'or wa bein ha'chashach. Wa yikar al-la'im la'or yom, wa la'chashach kar leila. Wa ya'e garb, wa ya'e bakar, yom achad. Al Bnei Yeroshua, wa amarti laham, Ala'e abathecham, shalachni alecham, wa amaru le, ma shamo. Ma Amar Alham. And Masha said to God, Behold, I come to the children of Yahusharah, and shall say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they will say to me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? Exodus 3:13. It's a strange question for Masha to be asking God during his first encounter with God. The first question was, why me? Why are you sending me? The second question is this one, what is your name? Of course, Masha already knows his name, but he only overheard it from his forefathers. He now wants to hear it from God himself. How does God say his own name? The pronunciation of God's proper name has to be Yah-O, according to an unambiguous and consistently applied vowel system where consonants that act as vowel letters only do so when they are not the first letter of a Hebrew word, with the sole exception of the letter Ah. The only consonant heard in God's name is the first letter Yah. The second letter Ha is silent. It assumes the sound of the previous vowel and closes the first syllable. The third letter, Wa, is the long O vowel. Like the second letter, the fourth letter is also silent. It assumes the sound of the previous vowel and closes the terminal syllable. God's proper name is therefore pronounced Yah, pause, O, full stop, Yah-O. Any vowel system other than what we have outlined would not be in an unambiguous system. It would entail the creation of ad hoc rules that are not self-evident in a consonantal text that uses no diacritic signs of any kind to assist with pronunciation. So in my initial defense, yes, the simplistic vowel system we have described with no vowels that arise from the contraction of pure vowel sounds, ah, a, o, and I, is proof in itself that God's name is pronounced Yah-O and there is no other viable alternative. Wayamar Aleim al-Masha, A'e Ashar A'e, Wayamar, Chathamar Labane Yahusharah, A'e Shalachne Alecham. And God said to Masha, I will be who I will be. This shall you say to the children of Yahusharah, I will be has sent me to you. Wayamar God Aleim al-Masha, Chatamar al-Bnei Yahusharah, Yah-O, Ala e Abathechem, Ala e Abram, Ala e Yotzachak, Wa Ala e Yaugakab, Shalachne Alecham, Zashmo Lagalam, Was Azachare Ladar Dar. And God said more to Masha, This is what you shall say to the children of Yahusharah, Yah-O, the God of your fathers, the God of Abram, the God of Yotzachak, the God of Yaugakab, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial to all generations. Exodus 3:14 and 15. The first response from God was not really an answer to Masha's question. God begins by telling Masha who he is. I will be who I will be, which is A'e Ashar A'e in Hebrew, is not his personal name. I will be describes who he is. It is a definitive way of saying my deeds define my name and they are far beyond your ability to comprehend. I disagree with those saying I will be as some sort of esoteric statement about God existing. God does not try to explain or prove his existence. He does not care if you deny his existence. What he does care about is his name. And the second reply to Masha is where God utters his own name for the first time since he created man. But the point I want to get across before we go any further is that we cannot define the meaning of God's name. We can learn how to pronounce it, and he wants his people to do so. But the definition of his name would not fit inside a trillion encyclopedias. So those claiming his name means he exists, they are mistaken. The Tetragrammaton may only be 4 letters, but its definition cannot be expressed with even an infinite number of letters. It is the primary word of the Hebrew language. It is the most important word in any language. It is the most important word in the universe. So in this video, we do not presume to know the definition or meaning of God's name, nor will we get into etymology, which is a waste of time. We are only concerned with how to pronounce God's name because he revealed that to Masha, and therefore we can know it. He did not reveal the meaning of his name except to say, I will be who I will be. Wadabar Aleim al-Masha, Wayamar Aleo, Ane Yah-O, Wa'ar al-Abram, al-Yotzachak, Wa'al Yaugakab, Wa'al Shaddai, Washeme Yah-O, La Nodaithe Laham. And God spoke to Masha and said to him, I am Yah-O, and I appeared to Abram, to Yaugachak, and to Yaugakab, as God Almighty. But by my name Yah-O was I not known to them. Exodus 6:2 and 3. If you read the book of Genesis, you will find that the patriarchs know what God's personal name is, and they call him by his name. But what we should not find, according to Exodus 6, 2 and 3, is God making himself known to them by his name, or rather introducing himself to them by his personal name. Exodus 6, 2 and 3 does not contradict Genesis 13 and 4. The patriarchs knew God's name, but God never uttered his name to them, and they did not hear him say his name. When God spoke to Moshe, it was the first time since Adam that God declared his personal name out loud to any human being. So how did Abram know God's name if God never told him? He knew it because Adam and his wife, the first man and the first woman made in God's image, passed this knowledge down to their descendants by word of mouth. Adam's wife is the first person to say God's name in the Bible, according to Genesis 4 and 1. Each generation repeated God's name to the next generation, just as Adam pronounced it in the first generation. Abram heard God's name pronounced by his parents and by his grandparents, but he never heard God say his own name. Now, I know what those of you well-versed in the scripture are thinking right now. This brother is wrong, and he needs to look up Genesis 15 and 7 and Genesis 28 and 13, where God does pronounce his name to Abram and his grandson. I'm going to address these two passages in more detail later in the video, because they bring up a much larger issue about the Masoretic Hebrew text that underlies all English translations of the Bible. Let me just say here that the Hebrew manuscripts that predate the Masoretic text did not have God's name appearing in these two verses, and I'm going to prove that during the course of this video. Wait for it.
Jamaica funk, that's what it is.
Here, there we go. All right, so that's where you have to watch part 2 and part 3 to get the rest of that information. You can find that on your YouTube at the Ravenous Bird, RAVENOUSBIRD. That's Ravenous Bird, and just look up True Name of the Creator. The 39-minute video pretty much sum up everything, but you can watch part 1, 2, and 3. That's going to be great, and then watch Brought by Ships and Brought by Ships, Keep Silence Before Me Island, and Leave on Wings. Those 4 episodes, man, those 4 different series topics is going to change your perspective of how you look at things. All right. So understand these things. All right. When you do understand them, then you pray and ask Yahweh for insight. Let me just take the time now to answer this guy here. God, Yahweh, Jesus, Ehud in Aramaic. Well, I don't speak Aramaic. I know Yahushai spoke Aramaic in some part of the language because he could speak those languages. But I don't worship the God of Aramea. I worship the Creator, the God of the Hebrews. You know what I mean? I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he said, right? So I don't worship no other God. So I'm not interested in what people call him or what someone may want to call him. If you want to call him whatever, that's on you. He's the God of the Hebrew, and he always speaks to the Hebrew people. All right, you don't see the Creator speaking to nations. I mean, at one time he sent one of his prophets over to Nineveh, and because he know the heart of the Ninevan king, and the Ninevan king repented in sackcloth and ashes, and his whole nation was spared for about 40 years. And after that, another king rose up who have no respect for Yahweh, and you see what he did. He destroyed that city. If you look through the Bible from Abram all the way down to today, Yahweh spoke only to Yahushua. The kings of the world and the nations of the world and the kingdoms of the world, the nations of the world, the religions of the world are enemies of Yahweh. Vengeance is mine, he said, and I will repay. He will repay. He's going to destroy all the nations of the world. He's going to raise his people up back to prominency. We will be the head and not the tail. And right now he's gathering us into the wilderness so that we can learn from him and become a nation again. He's fulfilling his words, ladies and gentlemen. It's happening. It's happening right now. The Exodus year is this year, 2023. And most of us has left our prospective homes and lives, and we're now in the wilderness. It's happening. This is the secret rapture they didn't tell you about. See, they're telling you to expect. They're telling you to expect the clouds open, Son of Man descending, and those who are left is going to be those who are taken will be gone with him, and those who are left. But you don't understand if you really look at the prophecy. If you look at the prophecy, it's the one who are taken that is gone. If the one were taken, all right, the first thing that what the Yahushua said, the Messiah said, is that the angel will first tie up in wheat to be burned, the weed. He's going to tie up the weed to be burned. They're the one that's going to be got up first. It's the wicked. You see, people are looking for the rapture. They tell you this rapture story, make you think you're waiting for a Messiah to come to take you up to heaven, and you're going to be forever be in heaven. You misunderstand. You misunderstood the scriptures. You see, when he taught us to pray, he says, "Our Father who art in heaven." Where is he? In heaven. Hallowed be thy name. What? Hallowed be thy name. Your name is to be set apart as holy. Your kingdom come. Come on now. Your will be done. Where? Where? In heaven as it is on earth? Nope. In heaven? Nope. But on earth as it is in heaven. The Creator is coming here. He's coming here to his domain, to his kingdom. His kingdom is here. It's in heaven, but it's also in earth. And earth right now is run by evil men. They are holding and setting the stage for the great appearance of the nation of Yahushua, and for the king Yahushai or Yahushai to come back and sit on the throne and rule in the midst of us forever. They're setting the stage. It's coming here, ladies and gentlemen. Stop looking to go up. It's coming up. It's coming down. Not down going up. Up is coming down. And you can find that in Exodus 25. Build me a sanctuary that I may dwell among you. See, he wants to come here and live in our midst. That's the purpose. But before he does that, he has to do some gathering first. And this is a secret rapture that enough people don't realize that's happening right now, is that he's plucking out people one by one from this family, two by two from this family. It's not no, a bunch of people going up into heaven. It's people are leaving their prospective countries, the countries they were born in, the nations they were taken to as slaves. And those nations are enemies of Yahweh. America, you are the greatest enemy of Yahweh, because you have enslaved his people in the most horrific ways. You will pay for that. And the people who benefit from that enslavement, you will become slaves yourselves. But it's not for us to do. We're not coming to war against you. We're not coming to fight you. No, it's not what we do. It's not what we do. We're going to praise Yahweh. He's going to put his robe upon us, and he is the one that's going to do this through us when we call down the weather, and turn up the heat. Yahweh is going to do that. Now, watch what he says here in 1 Chronicles 16:35. Then says, "Save us, O Elohim, Yahweh, our salvation, and gather us and deliver us from the nation to give thanks to your holy name and glorify in your praise." Psalms 106:4-7. Save us, O Yahweh, our Elohim, and gather us from among the nation. Same thing. Micah 2:12. I will surely, come on now, I will surely assemble all of you. Jacob, I will surely gather the remnant. Not all of us gonna come. The remnant of Yahushua. I will put them together like sheep in folds, like flocks in the midst of pasture. They will be noisy with men. Oh, it's going to be a celebration. It's happening already. You see what happened when we come to the airport? Yeah, oh, it's screaming out his name. Zechariah 3:20. At that time I will bring you in, even at the time when I gather you together. Indeed, I will give you renown and praise among all the nation of the earth when I restore your fortune before your eyes, saith Yahweh. Isaiah 27:12. In that day, saith Yahweh will start his trenching from the flowing stream of Ephraim to the brooks of Egypt, and you will be gathered up one by one. How is he doing it? One by one. It's not no massive exodus like he did it with our forefathers when he led them out of the hand of Egypt. He's gonna do it one by one. We're not under chattel slavery anymore, no matter where part of the nation we are. They've set the rules so we can think we're free. You're not free. You're under a curse. You're not a nation. You don't bear the name of Yahweh. You don't know the name of Yahweh. Everything you have is given to you by your slave masters, even those who think they're free. You have a house, you have business, you got money in the bank. Whose bank your money is in? You got credit? You got good credit? Who gives you that good credit? Who gives you the credit that is so good for you? All your food and your water and your light, who owns them? The planes that you fly on, the car that you drive, the insurance that you have, who owns this insurance company? Your slave masters own them. So even though you think you're free, you're only free in the cage. You're like a rat eating cheese in a jar. That's all. You're still a slave. You're still a control. Who gave you fame? Who controlled the music industry? Who controls Hollywood? Your slave masters. You're not free. You think you're free. You're not free. You're just living a good life, so-called good life, in the cage. And they're using you to exploit the rest of us. So they gave you riches. They exploit your talent for more riches and give you just a penny of it. So every $10 million you make, they give you $100,000. And you're doing better than the rest of us, so you think you're doing great. And the rest of us is looking at you and want to be like you. That's why you see what? Like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, just to put it out there. Guy work hard. I respect his accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. I just want you to understand the exploitations and how it works. Michael Jordan is so great. Everybody wants to be Michael Jordan. Everybody wants to wear his product. All right, with his name on it. But who's making the bulk of the money from Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan is making some money, but who's making the bulk? Whatever Michael Jordan make, the company make 10 times, 15, 20, 100 times more than him. So he's being exploited, but he doesn't know it. Though he has some general control, he's being exploited. And so you have 100,000 brothers tried out for the NBA. 100,000. Out of that 100,000, only 40,000 even make it to college. What is it? Is it 40,000 or 40,000 make it out of high school? And I mean, with 30,000, I'm not sure the numbers here, but I'm just giving you an idea of what's going on. Say 40,000 make it out of high school. Say 8,000 or 7,000 make it out of college that play college ball. And only 7 make it to the NBA. So you think 100,000 people try out. Only 40,000 make it out of high school. Only say 10,000 or not even 10,000, say 7,000 made it to college and play college ball. And maybe 4 or 7 make it to the NBA. And the career of the NBA lasts about 4 years. So of 100,000, over a million people, over a million brothers trying out for 7 position that lasts 4 years. See the exploitation? And then you have the rappers and the movie stars. And if you notice, the rappers are becoming movie stars because it's a level of influence. You have to understand that influence is the power. Bill Cosby was trying to tell us this. Bill Cosby was trying to show us the way. But we didn't realize what happened, how they come together and take him down all of a sudden. All of a sudden, Bill Cosby have these 30 women coming together, 20, 30 women coming together saying this man is a rapist. Think about this shit, man. But nobody's asking the what, the why. Nobody's asking the what and the why. What happened? Why it happened? Bill Cosby was going to buy CBS. All right? CBS, CBN, one of them big network. Bill Cosby had oil on his house, on his land, on his property. There's a lot of things that was going on, but people don't know it. What was he trying to do? Look at Bill Cosby. Even look at the life of Bill Cosby. Yeah, like, everybody can look at the negative. Everybody can look at the negative, and they make the negative guide them. And the negative ruin everything he has ever done. You think I'm going to look at Bill Cosby bad because of these accusations that happens? I'm not going to look at them. I'm going to look at his accomplishment and look at what he accomplished for black people in general. You look at what he was doing. He was uplifting the nation and showing us that we're more than what we think we are. But people weren't seeing it. Let me see that. Let me see if I can find it and just share a little bit of what Cosby started to do when he got into power. Let me see here. Let me see if I could find this. And let you hear it. Bill on history. I just want you to understand. So you have to put a powerful man like this down, because if you don't put him down, then he gonna go ahead and help the nation. You don't want no help the nation. Look at all our leaders, everyone who stand up to build the nation, to build us as a people, as an individual people. Look at what happened, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let me just give you just a quick synopsis of this. All right, I want you to hear this a little bit. But most people don't know this about Bill Cosby. You knew what they want you to know. They give you the information and you suck it up. But you never look and you never ask why.
Lost, stolen, or strayed.
I've been watching Bill Cosby my whole life, and I never knew that he had these kind of programs.
No, I could never fit it. Never get in that at all.
Listen to this. Just listen to this. I'm just gonna make you hear a little piece of this.
Now, what's the whitest thing you know? Whiter than the driven snow, whiter than the whites of your eyes? Sugar. Non-integrated, non-black, sweet sugar. But you see, there is a black man in your sugar. His name is Norbert Rillier. Norbert Rillier in 1846 invented a vacuum pan that revolutionized the sugar refining industry. Now, you have to dig to find that fact. I mean, it's not much history, but it's still history. Now, what do you stand in? In your shoes. Now, there's just you and your shoes, isn't there? Nope. See, there's a black man standing in your Oxfords with you. sharing your soul and your heel, is a man, his name is Jan Ernst Metzelger. And in 1863, this is a drawing by the kids, Metzelger invented the machine that made mass-produced shoes possible. Now you have to dig around for that fact, too. And again, it's not much history, but it's history. Am I coming in clear to California? I mean, is this TV signal driving through a pass in the Sierra Nevada mountains and slipping into San Francisco? Okay, well, I want to thank you, Jim Beckworth. Jim Beckworth out of St. Louis, hunter, trapper, and honorary chief of the Crow tribe of Indians. We had trouble finding you, Jim. Though you helped open the West, you didn't make the books. Chicago, right here, where the Wrigley building is. Young fellow by the name of Jean-Baptiste de Sable. Jean-Baptiste, he founded Chicago, when he traded with the Indians. And of course, there it is right there at that particular time. It was called Chicago or Stinking Onion by the Indians. And de Sable, he didn't even change the name at all. Now you take the Lewis and Clark expedition here, right in there. You'll find a black man named York helping to open the West. Those men are trying to wash the black out of York. That's what you might call historically significant, because a lot of people think we ought to wash white, but we ain't gonna, you see. Texas. Coming to you, Texas, right down the Chisholm Trail, right here. Right down there with 5,000 black cowboys who never made it to the Hollywood Western. Did you know that? Huh? In this same group, there was one black outlaw. His name was Deadwood Dick, who claimed his soul brothers were Bat Masterson, Billy the Kid, and Jesse James. Deadwood Dick used to ride into the saloon, order 2 drinks, one for himself and one for his horse. And here's his horse drinking a shot of red-eye with a straw. And how about the 186,000 blacks who fought on the Union side during the Civil War? 38,000 died. How about Teddy Roosevelt's charge up San Juan Hill? It wasn't just the Rough Riders who made it. 4 black regiments went right up with Teddy. They didn't get lost going up the hill. They got lost in the history books. How about the North Pole? Snow White? Well, the first man there was black, Matthew Henson. He spoke Eskimo. And he was Admiral Perry's navigator, and although he made it first to the pole, it never quite made it to the history books. And how about your heart? Can we get there? All right. Daniel Hale Williams first performed open heart surgery successfully. Now, this list could go on forever. Blacks who made it, blacks who made history, but who didn't get into the history text at all. And the strange thing is how little there is about us in the textbooks. Napoleon once said, history is a fable, agreed. American history is white on white. But sometimes we did get into the history books. All wrong. Now you take this one. The Growth of the American Republic, 1942 edition. Samuel Eliot Morrison, Henry Steele Commager. Quote, as for. This has to do with slavery. As for Sambo, Professor Morrison. Sambo, Professor Commager. As for Sambo, whose wrongs moved the abolitionists to wrath and tears, there is some reason to believe that he suffered less than any other class in the South from its peculiar institution. Peculiar institution means slavery. Although brought to America by force, the incurably optimistic Negro soon became attached to the country and devoted to his white folks. Unquote. Those lines
I think you get the drift. What I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Everyone who raised up to empower black people in any country, any nation, is going to be struck down. Because it's not the will of Yahweh. Let me say that one more time, because I'm going to end here. It is not the will of Yahweh for you to prosper in those nations. If you are prospering in those nations, it's because you are sold highly, sold to keep the depression, the oppression of the nation in line. And you're fully in disobedience to the commandments of Yahweh. Because the command says, come out of her, my people. Come out of her, my people, that you may not be partakers of her plagues, of her sin. I'm telling you, it's coming. You might see it in your lifetime. You may not see it in your lifetime. It's coming. And the question is, where are you going to position yourselves? You got to position yourselves in the arms, under the wings of Yahweh. And that's it. I'll give up anything and anyone to be under the wings of Yahweh. If he's going to destroy the nations that we serve as slaves, you have to ask yourself the question, where in the world can you go to avert that destruction? He called us to the Philippines. Cebu, Philippines. That's where he called us. Here he's gathering us one by one, two by two. And he's going to start with a small remnant. That's what he says. Only the remnant shall be saved. He's going to start one by one, two by two. And they're coming. People are coming. And we're learning again to be a nation. Because now you have to unlearn some things. And that's going to take time. So this is not going to be, okay, come and this is going to happen right away. He's going to take his time to plead with us, to sprinkle clean water upon us, to get us to where he needs us. He's going to put his laws into us. And then he's going to get us ready to go retake the land he promised our forefathers to give to us. It's going to happen. If not, just throw away your Bibles. If he doesn't fulfill his word, throw away your Bibles, because everything is a fake. It's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I will gather you from the nation from which I scatter you, say Yahweh. And it's happening. Isaiah 56:8. Yahweh, who gathered the dispersed of Yahusharel, declares, yet others will I gather to them, to those already gathered. Ezekiel 39:27. When I bring them back from the people and gather them from the lands of their enemies, of the land of their enemies. These people are our enemies. I know they seem like our friends, but they're not. They are enemies. They're exploiting you. You raised up and you will see where you stand. When I bring them back from the people and gather them from the land of their enemies, then I shall be sanctified through them in the sights of many nations. You think America is your friend, it's your enemy. You think France is your friend, it's your enemy. You think England is your friend, it's your enemy. Germany, Dutch, you think they're your friends, they are your enemies. As long as you lay doormat, you're good. Because that's what they want. They want your ideas and your ideals. They want you to be a good old boy. Let's put it that way. Just go to church, go to your prospective belief system, and just keep the wheel going. Go to work, pay your bills, and live a good life. And teach your children to do the same so they can keep the engine going, so they can make you subservient to their needs and their wills while they're getting richer and richer and living the high life of your energy and back and word. So the question is yours, man. The question is yours. What is your what, your want, and your why? Only you can answer that. As for me and my household, we're going to serve Yahweh. That's why we picked up everything and we moved here. And I'm having the time of my life. Check out my YouTube channel called Now Living in the Philippines and see what I'm doing here, man. It's beautiful here, man. Talk about a freedom. It's beautiful. I'm gonna jump on my bike in a few minutes. I'm gonna go down to the streets. I'm gonna get some vegetables or some fruits. And once I get some vegetables and fruits, I'm gonna come back and make breakfast for my family. And yeah, because right now it's 7:09. It's actually, yeah, 7:09 here. It's 8. I think it's 8:09 in the night where you guys are at. But where I'm at now, it's in the morning. So I'm gonna go down and make some breakfast for the family. And yeah, but this is what came to me this morning. This is what I want to do to give to you. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, the choice is yours. Do what you want with the information you just received. For me and my family, we're here. We're here. We love it. And amazing, man. So you don't believe that we're having the time of our life. I've been on vacation now for 6 months. I feel like I'm on vacation for the past 6 months. It's the first time in my life that I ever felt really, truly free. Really, really, truly free. Because I have absolutely no stress, no worries. I'm not thinking about no bills. I'm not thinking about how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to do that. I'm not getting up early to go to work, fighting through traffic. I get up, I do what I want, when I want it. And that's because Yahweh has given me the opportunity to relax. I'm 52 years old, man. I work hard. I've been working since I was 8 years old. I had my own first job at 8 years old. Got my first paycheck at 8 years old. I've been working, grinding. And I've accomplished some things in my life. And I pray today and thank you for Yahweh. He gave me the things that I need. He gave me my childhood dream. I'm just scuba diving now. And I'm telling you, scuba diving was a childhood dream of mine, but I never realized it because I never utilized it because, you got to go to work. And, scuba diving was something extra and money. You have to start save money. Here I come to this beautiful country. I have the time. I went scuba diving. It's beautiful. Check out my YouTube channel, Now Living in the Philippines. Now Living in the Philippines. You're gonna see, man. It's just beautiful here. Just talk about a peace of mind, and that's what Yahweh wants to give you, as He built you into a nation. We didn't come here to integrate. Really, we come here to be a nation, to be on a piece of property, piece of land where we can just observe Yahweh's laws and just build a sanctuary and make sacrifices and do all the things that we need to do according to the Torah. You know what I mean? So with that said, I love you guys. Until next time, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Meka Albania Osher Al, and thank you for being my guest today. Please like and share, and please go in and help my YouTube channel to grow. We are at now living in the Philippines. We are at about 4,200 subscribe. Help us to get to 5,000 because this will give us more opportunity for the algorithm to work. And it's a source of income for me. So I am really looking for your support right here. If maybe you're wealthy and you want to help a brother out, go ahead. But I want you to just click the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. It's a source of income. It's my online job, because there's no income coming in, but I do have some savings and things are happening, and I'm grateful for that. But I would love to have some income coming in, you know what I mean? And I got some retirement coming in pretty soon too. But the common sense said you want multiple streams of income coming in, and you want multiple streams of income. So if one dry up, you're not going back to work. And I tell you, living in the Philippines here and enjoying the freedoms that I'm having here, I ain't looking to do going back to no work. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to be in front of no computer for 8 hours a day, or nah. This for the rest of my life, it's just to prepare myself to receive His words and just watch Him do His thing in and through me and through this nation. All right, until next time, I love you guys. Peace out.